Hey guys, I'm Jax, and I just saw Sony's newest film, Madam Web. You may have heard over the last day or so that people have been giving Madam Web some of the most scathing, horrific, just some of the honestly worst reviews I've ever seen for a film ever. And whilst this is very fair and accurate, because this is the worst superhero film ever made, I'm here to say that this isn't like other bad, terrible superhero films that are the worst things you've ever seen. This isn't like that, because this movie is a joke. And I don't mean like, this is a joke. I mean, this film is a joke. This film is satire. This film is parody. Madam Web is intentionally the worst superhero film ever made. This film is intentionally the way it is. This film is looking at the state of cinema, Hollywood, superhero films, and it's holding up a mirror. Madam Web is not even directed by the person you think it's directed by. S.J. Clarkson isn't even a real person. S.J. Clarkson is a pen name. This is all a fake identity to trick the audience, because if you knew who directed this movie, you would see that it's a satire. You would see it's a parody, and you wouldn't be able to watch the film and then come to the understanding on yourself. Because this isn't a film that is a parody and just being very open about it. This isn't like Deadpool and being very obvious with its satirical parody of superheroes. No. This is a superhero movie, but by being everything that a superhero movie can be and is, but at the worst possible lowest common denominator, where every single aspect of everything you love about superhero films is in this film, but done terribly in the worst possible way ever. Nathan Fielder, that's right, the director of this movie is actually Nathan Fielder. He is putting up a mirror to society, to Hollywood, to superhero films and the superhero conglomerate that is Marvel and even Sony and DC, of course, and looking at all of them, holding up a mirror to all of them, to you, to me, to society, and just saying, we can do better. Because look at yourself. Look at yourself. And you're looking at the mirror, and the mirror is Madam Web, and you look at it and you go, oh, no, that's horrible, that's disgusting. And he's saying, by showing us something so horrific, but reflecting it on us like a mirror, he's saying, you look disgusting and awful and terrible, and that's the worst thing ever. What has become of Hollywood, of superhero films? What has become of you, of me? But really, he's saying, we can do better. It's like when you look at yourself in the mirror after like a bender on the weekend, you just look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I become? And then like on Monday, you're having juices, you're like working out, you're doing real hard at work because like, I can never feel and look like that. Once you've looked at yourself in the mirror on that Sunday morning and you're just like, ugh. That's this film. Nathan Fielder is holding the mirror up to us, society, watching these superhero films. And Madam Web is the mirror itself. Just a reflective glance on cinema, on superheroes, on society itself. And just going, not good enough. You, me, us, everything, superhero films in Hollywood specifically, we can do better. We must do better because we were once great. We were once beautiful. But look at us now. We're ugly and disgusting and hungover and just smelly Sunday morning after a bender. Just horrible. We are, all of us, Madam Web. Everyone join me. Put on your tin foil hats and let's go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, but really just truth. Really just truth. And let us dissect every single moment of this film. I'll pick like 3 or 4. I'll probably get bored at a certain point. Let's pick a couple of things in this movie and let's dive into why it cannot be a sincere, genuine approach at making a superhero film, because that doesn't make sense, because it's the worst thing ever. But how, actually, it is a very clever, very intentional move by director, presumably Nathan Fielder, or some kind of Nathan Fielder type. I don't know, the cringy, awful, charisma-less performances from everyone really does give me Ricky Gervais vibes. Obviously from early Ricky Gervais, not like new Ricky Gervais, we're all like, yeah, we get your shtick. We're kind of over you. Like, you're not terrible, but we're kind of over you. Like early Ricky Gervais, where like you'd watch one of those shows and you'd just be like, oh, the air in the room is like so uncomfortable. I can taste the cringe. I can feel it like on my skin. Like, I can't wash it off. I feel so uncomfortable for the people in the room making that show. Because, like, this film feels like that. The film is so uncomfortable. The film is so cringy. The film is so bad. So maybe the film was directed by Ricky Gervais. But if I was a betting man, and I am, I would put everything on black. Black, being Nathan Fielder. And I guess Ricky Gervais would be red? So Sony's Madam Web is set in 2003. Why is it set in 2003? That doesn't make any sense. It's actually 2024 right now. And sure, you might say, well, there's a baby Peter Parker in this movie. Peter Parker's mom is pregnant throughout the whole film, so clearly they just want to set up a universe, a Madam Web-averse, one might say, in which there could then be a Spider-Man that is teenage/20-ish-year-oldish age, later set in the modern day. Sure, you could say that, but that's crazy and that doesn't make any sense. What is actually the case here is that Nathan Fielder has made a very clever and intentional choice to set the film in 2003, whilst making a film that feels like it is a superhero film made in 2003. Back when the superhero films were still pretty bad, and sure, there are a couple of good ones, but generally they just had a really weird and awful kind of just feeling and mood around them. And sure, they were campy and silly and dumb, nothing this film is in like a fun, cool way. This film was just dour and horrible, so he's missed the mark a little bit there. Sure, there could have been some camp elements to make it really hammer home the satire. But what he's really doing is he's just trying to show a lens on how far we've come. This is what the superhero film used to be, kind of. He hasn't done it properly because it's just all the worst aspects, but I guess also that was intentional. That was intentional. He's like, if I make it too fun and campy, people will enjoy it and they won't understand the satire. So I've got to make it incredibly dull and painfully boring. And for some reason have early 2000s Saw editing, like the horror torture porn franchise Saw, where it's loud and chaotic and the camera's spiraling around and there's no kind of rhyme or reason and it's just like flying about and flashes and loud bangs and everything's lights and shimmery showing it. Just Google Bear Trap, reverse Bear Trap, Saw on YouTube. Watch the chaos, the loud chaos of that editing. If you haven't seen those movies, be warned, it's horrible. Don't finish it. Just watch the start and you will go, the film is edited like that? And you are, I can't really understand the thought process with Nathan Fielder there. It's like, but it's something to do with early 2000s and kind of looking back at superhero films at that point and going, we've come so far. But maybe have we really come that far at all? Have we maybe circled back around? Is life some kind of circular thing? Maybe that's what he's saying. God, he's such an avant-garde, art house, clever filmmaker, just always breaking the fourth wall, always asking questions of the audience. And sometimes you don't have the answers. Sometimes he asks a question, you don't have the answer. That's what's so exciting about Nathan Fielder as a director. And I know there's some very good superhero directors. James Gunn, Christopher Nolan, a third example. But oh my God, I think Nathan Fielder might be the best superhero director. He's just made me think so much. It's such a thought-provoking, powerful film that even just the choice of what year the film is set has really started to just make me think, make me wonder, make me question not just myself, but Hollywood, superhero films. Another aspect of this film that makes me absolutely 100% certain that this is a very funny, clever, satirical parody of superheroes is that this film is Madam Web. We know that. This film was called Madam Web, and it stars the titular character, Madam Web. But no, this isn't the Madam Web you remember from the comics or the 90s animated TV series. No. This isn't some old, disgusting crone. No. This Madam Web is young and sexy. In fact, she's 50 shades sexier than you would have imagined when they announced this property and this film being announced and making it secretly by Nathan Fielder. No. Nathan Fielder has so cleverly cast a young, hot actress to portray the usually old, disgusting crone Madam Web to make us think about the fact that superhero films used to be young and sexy and hot and cool, but now they are in fact disgusting and old and decrepit. He has done a contrasty juxtaposition thing, but flipped it, I think. Once again, Nathan Fielder just asking the questions and maybe I don't have the answers. Maybe this isn't the answer. but it's making me think. And what is film and cinema if not a thing that make you think? Another thing that I thought was very clever from Nathan Fielder, the director of this movie, is the fact that he's cast 4 incredibly charismatic, likable actresses in the lead roles of this movie. We have the 3 teenagers, but once again, he's looking back at early 2000s and going, what would they do in early 2000s? They wouldn't be modern, like nowish, and cast actual teenagers as teenagers. No, gross, ew, no. This is the OC. This is a second and third example. Every single The OC type, One Tree Hill, Dawson's Creek, I want to say is another one. Shows in which teenagers are the main cast, but they're like, I don't want to work with teenagers. It's early 2000s. Why would we do that? Let's cast 25 to 35-year-olds. That is what this movie does. They cast 20 to 22 to 27-year-olds, I'd have to imagine, as teenagers, and they are babysitted by Madam Web, Mrs. Groundhog Day herself, and she is probably like 35-ish, I imagine. And so there's a bit of a classic 2000s, early 2000s feel. So once again, just on the casting, you're throwing yourself back to an earlier, more innocent time of superhero films and just seeing how far we've come. Parody, satire? And by casting 4 people that we know are very charismatic and just are oozing charisma, usually in everything else, he has then gone, no, we are going to make this cringy. We're going to make this uncomfortable. We're going to make it feel like, and see, this is where the satire and the parody comes in. We're going to make it feel like, even though all 4 of you are on location, in a forest, in a real building, in a real set and location, this film is filmed in actual real places. Real restaurants, real sets and locations. There doesn't feel like there's any big giant blue screens. This isn't some kind of 300 The Hobbit situation. But he is going to make it feel like it was that. And so by filming on real locations and getting all the actors to actually be on set, he is making it feel like the movies how we used to know them before the green screen and the volume. But he is going to make every single performance so stilted, so uncomfortable, so awkward, so cringy and disgusting. He is going to make the phrase devoid of charisma unusable for this film because it's going to be insulting to actors and characters and people performing together that are devoid of charisma. He's going to make every single person that's ever seen a 10th grade school performance because their friend was in it or their girlfriend's brother was in it or something and they just had to go see it and they're like, oh, it's so uncomfortable and cringy. They're going to make them retroactively go, no, actually, that was pretty good. That one kid, Simon, he was really funny, actually. Now I'm thinking about it, and now I have the context for how bad it can be in Madam Web. He is going to make it feel like these 4 actresses who are on a set, on a real location, feel like they are not even filmed on green screens alone separately and all 4 placed in after. He's going to make it feel like they were filming alone at home on a Zoom call, probably in their pajamas. Maybe they were naked because they weren't even on set. And the weird kind of static things where you like say something and you're waiting for them to respond. And then they respond, but like half of it responds and they don't respond, and then you respond, and there's that bit of that awkward Zoom call interaction situation. He's going to make it feel like that, / a Ricky Gervais show, but when we used to like Ricky Gervais, not new modern Ricky Gervais, where we're all like, we're kind of over Ricky Gervais now. Like old school cringe The Office Ricky Gervais, where like it makes your skin crawl, like just, it's so uncomfortable. You're like, oh, all these people, it's so awkward and cringy, and like, just there's no charisma in the room at all. Like, I'm so used to seeing sexy, charismatic people be charismatic on screen. Lovely, sexy people do sexy things. It's that. He's cast Sydney Sweeney, but he's like, we'll make her look disgusting and ugly. We'll put on glasses on her. We'll make her wear a dress that isn't incredibly slutty, and we'll be like, oh, what an uggo. And it'll make you really question society? Superhero films? Once again, sometimes when Nathan Fielder asks a question, I don't know the answer. But it's still thought-provoking nonetheless. But I really think that his look at the current state of over-reliance on CGI and green screens and the way he's brought that to life with cringy performances like it's on a green screen, but he shot it in real life on a location, it's genius. Another reason this film is absolutely not genuine and is a very clever satirical parody of a cinema superhero film is the fact that this film is very much a trailer for a sequel that we'll never get. They never even intended to make it. That's why it's so clever. Because ever since the MCU has started the cinematic experience of interconnected movies and a shared universe, so many other people have tried to do it. The Godzilla and Kong Monsterverse. We've got the Dark Universe 1, we've got the Dark Universe 2, and we've presumably got a third Dark Universe coming. We've got Sony's own Spider-Man universe in which Spider-Man doesn't exist. Even they are aware of the things they're doing, and they're going, no more. We will make the ultimate film that is a trailer for a sequel that we'll never get. This movie starts off, and to anyone, it's just so funny to me. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just so funny to me that someone would watch this and go, oh, just another film that's a trailer for a sequel we'll never get. And not understand that Nathan Fielder, he so cleverly and so geniusly made a film that feels like a film that you've seen before. But it's so cleverly taking it to the extreme. It's a 12 out of 10. It's so obviously parody. This feels like Starship Troopers all over again. That's all I'm saying. Like, when Starship Troopers first came out, people were like, this film's pro-war and I don't get it. People sometimes just aren't able to grasp how clever a filmmaker can be. Sometimes they underestimate the filmmaker. And I wonder, and I think that's what's so clever about making it a pen name as well. Because if this was directed by Nathan Fielder, people would just be looking for it. They'd be thinking about it. They'd just be like, well, I know that he does this type of stuff, so you'd be expecting it. So when it comes out at the end, you'd be like, no, I get it. I actually get this. This is satire. This film, for a little bit of context, is about Madam Web. Madam Web is a lady who was bitten by a spider, or her mum was, who cares, whatever, and she gets Spider-Man powers. And by that, I mean she gets Groundhog Day powers. And so her Groundhog Day powers give her the ability to see that there's an evil Spider-Man who also kind of maybe has Groundhog Day powers, maybe, who knows, and he sees the future of his life where 3 spider women kill him. And so you're like, oh, and so you see a little flash of these 3 spider women in costume using their spider powers. It's all crazy, it's all amazing. And throughout the entire film, you keep hyping and teasing, waiting for that third act of these 3 spider women to get their powers, because they're just teenagers. They're just teenagers in this film. They don't have powers. And so these 3 teenagers keep building up to have a moment at the end of this film in which their powers come out and they become the 3 different spider women and they fight and kill the bad guy. But Nathan Fielder's too clever for that, because that would just be a generic, boring, cliche, we've seen it a million times, superhero film. No, he goes one step further. He hypes up and he sets up. He actually does this a few times. He puts in so many moments in the first 2 acts where you're like, oh, that's going to pay off in the third act. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't pay them off with a classic cause and effect, beginning, middle, and end, Chekhov's gun, shoot the Chekhov's gun. No, he just has lots of guns sitting all over the place and none of them go off. It's genius satire. And so instead of being cheap and boring and obvious, Nathan Fielder holds off in giving these 3 women their superpowers, and instead, in an epilogue style kind of final moments montage, he hypes the sequel in like a trailer almost of the end of this movie, even though the whole film itself is pretty much a trailer. He hypes these 3 women with their superpowers and goes, check this out. Can't you wait for the sequel? It's like the Avengers, but spider women. And he teases it in such a loud, obnoxious, and stupid way that it is just such a funny, clever look at Hollywood, and specifically superheroes and shared universes throughout Hollywood, and just going, how terrible is it that movies like The Mummy are just like half a movie, and then half the movie is just a trailer for a bunch of other movies that they're never going to get made? He's so clearly saying, look at this film. This film just needs to work on its own. This film just needs to be a good film, like the original Iron Man film, like so many of the Phase 1 MCU projects. Just make a good film, and then let the universe grow naturally, organically. And so by shoehorning in an ending like this, where the 3 superwomen are doing superhero powers and they all team up and she goes, can't you wait for the movie where we're all in costume and doing spider women, spider powers? I'm Madam Web and I see the future sometimes, and maybe it's a Groundhog Day-ish situation. But 3 spider women next time, not this movie, but next time, by being so aggressively, arrogantly dumb and stupid by just not putting them in the movie at all, not even for 5 minutes in the third act, just 12 seconds at the end of the movie, literally as a trailer for the sequel. He has just so cleverly looked at the state of cinema, the state of Hollywood, the state of shared universes and go, look at this. Madam Web is just a mirror. He's just holding up a mirror to films, to superhero films in Hollywood, and he just says, be better. Be better. Madam Web, if anything, is just a plea from Nathan Fielder that we can all be better. You can be better. I can be better. Superhero films in Hollywood can be better. The MCU, Sony's Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, can be better. The Monsterverse, the Dark Universe 3.0, the third try they've tried. A third example of a shared universe we didn't want, but now we've gotten. They can be better. We can be better. And that's why Nathan Fielder is one of my favorite directors, because he's just so thought-provoking. He's so fascinating. He's not afraid to look at something and just go, no, not good enough. I can make you better. You can be better. You know you can be better. He's almost like a self-help coach that's not being preachy. And so by making this film, I feel like he's saying so much without having to actually, with the words in his mouth, say anything. The film speaks for itself. This might be the best superhero film ever made. Honestly, it's so genius, I don't even think I need to bring up another point. Is that because I saw the runtime in the corner of my eye and I went, that's too long to be doing this review. And of course, everything is bullshit and this is wrong, but also the villain sucked. And there's probably some kind of stupid analogy I could make about that and how every line feels like it's ADR, but they ADR'd it intentionally on purpose because all these superhero films, they're never actually fully deformed scripts at the start, and then they make a film that's a vision. They're just doing whatever and chopping and cutting and changing and reshaping it, reshooting it, and just doing whatever on the fly. And that's why this film, they've done that with the villain with ADR, where he's just continuously explaining his plot and how he feels all the time with exposition and exposition and exposition. And if I rewatched it, which I'll never do, but if I rewatched it, I'd probably guess that half to 75% of his dialogue, he's like not on screen actually talking. And it's just like ADR. It's ADR, but it was intentionally ADR. Because Nathan Fielder, he's such a clever director. This man is a bloody genius. This man is a visionary. He's an auteur, art house, visionary superhero director. And he hates superhero films, but he also delivered a superhero film. And that, in conclusion, with some other points maybe that I've forgotten, is why Madam Web is the worst superhero film ever made, ever. But he meant to make it like that. Because Nathan Fielder's a genius. And that is why Nathan Fielder, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is the greatest auteur, art house, provocative filmmaker man who makes a film. And you go, wow, that's bad. But then you go, but why? Is he really commenting on Hollywood itself and how bad that is? Rather than the film itself. And the film itself is still bad. But that's not what really the film is about. The film is about Hollywood. It's about superheroes. It's about you. It's about me. It's about society. And Nathan Fielder holds up a mirror to society. And the mirror, the reflection, is Madam Web looking back at us. And we all go, ah! No! Ah! Oh, God! No, make it stop!